Joe Biden's a truck driver now. Did you see that?
Now, what was that all about?
I don't know. We'll get into it. It's going to be good.
Do you know anything about it?
Yeah, a little bit.
A little bit.
Enough to be dangerous.
He knows a little bit. Live.
Assumes no responsibility for its content. The Wade and Carter Show bears all responsibilities for their opinions
And guest on their show.
Coming up, we'll pay tribute to a great man, and Joe Biden is a truck driver. All that and more coming up in today's Wade and Carter Show.
Before we do this, let's go over the
What's the weather?
let's do this.
Hey, good morning.
Good morning.
How are you today?
I'm good. I actually am good. How are you?
I'm well. You were on my thoughts and mind all last night, so
Well, fantastic.
it wasn't dreaming.
No, it wasn't. It wasn't,
wasn't awkward.
Wasn't in your dreams like usual.
No, not
Or I'm
like
chasing you in nothing but a t-shirt,
and a hatchet and a goalie mask. I'm not quite sure what.
a shimmy shirt, a half shirt,
A ShamWow.
right?
Let's do this.
The Wade and Carter weather brought to you by the people who have everything that you need at your home. Deerland Feed. 77 degrees in Victoria, heading to a high today of 92. It's going to be kind of partly cloudy, so you're going to have that cooling effect, but it is still going to be plenty hot. So be advised, if you don't have to get outside, don't. If you need to do something in the yard or whatever, do it early. Get it over with, because it's going to be a scorcher.
Yeah.
77 to 92 and hot.
David Glass is in. Diane Tippett, good morning. Scott Tomko says good morning and condolences.
Thank you, Scott.
James Kurth, good morning. Marvin Mickish, Bobcat Watley, Jeremy Pena, Amanda Smith King, Bobby Leister, and the Leisterometer is holding steady to 1,004. Scott Snow, good morning. Judge Posey offers condolences. H.R.
Thanks,
Mallory.
Judge.
Chris Conrad, good morning to you, sir. Matt Boucher, condolences to you and your family.
Thank you, sir.
Not to you, Matt, to you.
You know,
Karen Webb, Robert Moore Knipling, Pete
We'll be,
Montana, good morning.
hey, Pete, we'll be big in Florida next week with
Yeah, we
Jeremy
will be.
Pena on vacation.
Junior Samples, Justin Glass, Chris Cox, BJ Nelson. So
Thanks, BJ. And, of course, you know what it's like. You just went through that yourself. For those of you that haven't heard or read, my father, he'd been on hospice for about a year, a little over a year, actually, where he was literally bedbound, just non-ambulatory. And those of you that knew Daddy, he was miserable in
he
that
was.
regard. And yesterday, about 3 o'clock, he finally passed away. He'd gotten to the point where, I guess last Thursday, Friday, he just quit eating, and then he drank like through the weekend. But then starting about, I don't know, Monday, he couldn't even drink water. Just got to the point where he couldn't physically drink. And then if he did, he choked and he didn't have the strength to cough. And it's just that cycle of life where,
I can't imagine how hard it was to see him like that. For
yeah,
you.
but it was very comforting to have him in our home. And my mom was there with him, and it's what we had all agreed to and what he wanted. So, he did pass away yesterday very peacefully. Mom was there. I was there. Mom was actually right by his side at the time. And that's the stuff you remember. And the folks at Grace have been amazing. Came out, Dana Moore de la Garza helped us arrange all that way back when. If you haven't done that, the peace of mind that offers, that's not a paid advertisement. That's a statement from the heart. Do take care of that in advance. They showed up. They were kind. The people at Crown Hospice, super nice, very caring. They sent a chaplain out to the house. You wonder about that. Your father's going to pass at home. There's no minister. You're not at church. There's no, last rites, if you will.
You're not in a hospital.
Yeah, a gentleman came out and spent some time with the family and had prayer. And but all is well. We believe in a new day, and I'm convinced that Dad is in a much better place. One of my daughters, Katie, she sent a note and she said, I can just see, Grant, we always talked about that when Granddad got to heaven that he would have two arms again. You know, I grew up, I was kind of a celebrity as a kid because my dad had the hook. You know, he wore a prosthetic arm and had that. Now you see so many.
Did he scare kids?
Oh, yeah.
Were kids scared of him because of that?
Quick aside, there's only a handful of times I ever saw my dad do anything that you would consider to be somewhat, devious. We were at a Dick's food store, the one right there at Laurent and Crestwood. I'm probably 8. I mean, I'm old enough to know right from wrong, and I'm old enough to know that this kid's kind of making an ass of himself, okay? So this kid's in line in front of us, and he's probably about 5. Mama, look. Mama, look. And the lady, of course, is being discreet, and she's not looking. And finally, the mother turns to the little boy and says, well, why don't you ask him about his arm if it means that much to you? And she kind of looked at my dad and winked, and he said, hey, mister, how'd you lose that arm? Not, sir, what happened to you? My dad said, it's funny. I was about your age. I was at a grocery store with my mom, and I was kind of making a fool of myself, and this man just ripped it off. And the kid like jumped and hid behind his mom, and I thought, way to go, Dad. Like, you're the coolest. You're the coolest. But when we were growing up at church and stuff, my dad was always the guy with the hook. So I had that going for me. But, yeah, good stuff.
Was he quick with the hook when he was your baseball coach?
He was quick.
Pulled you off the mound in no time?
Rockin' fire, babe. Rockin' fire. He used to love to watch Tomko pitch back in the day. Scotty was gritty. Scotty was
grinder.
He had a little Hershey. He wasn't very big, and he threw it hard. And he, like I, did not care if it hit you. If we hit somebody, we're in Little League. We didn't run over and shake their hand. Hi, sorry I hit you. It was like, get on base and shut up. You get off them and hit you again. Stay on the bag. We didn't care. We grew up in the Nolan Ryan era. My dad would just sit up there and people were like, take it out. He's killing kids.
That story of your dad reminds me because it seems like whenever we were out somewhere, he was always – he'd never say anything derogatory or mean to anybody, but he was very observant, and he would find the humor in other people's, I don't want to say misfortunes, but if somebody's walking along and kind of gets the old, the carpet monster grabs him a little bit, he'd chuckle.
Oh yeah,
I always appreciated it. And I'd look at him because, did you see that? And I'd see that, and we'd kind of smirk at each other. It was
the things go on forever. I told you about Dad would say he would be walking, and I'd see him kind of like hop skip over a crack, and I would go, Dad, are you superstitious? No, but there's no reason to step on a crack if you don't have to. Okay. A good story, though, that sums him up, just to give you a final insight into Dad. I was raised over here at Northside Baptist Church, and in about maybe 1976, 77, the pastor then was a really great gentleman named Jimmy Mize. And Brother Jimmy came to Dad and said, look, I want you to be a deacon. I want you to be like an elder in our church. And he told Dad he wanted to pray about it. And I remember my dad reading the qualifications, if you will, of being a deacon as the Baptist understood it. A husband of one wife and not prone to too much drink and not this and not that. And my dad went back and told the pastor, I'm not qualified. I can't do this. And the pastor asked him, well, why? I mean, I've known you since, literally had known my dad since he was a kid. And he said, he goes, I've got a vice. My dad said, I smoke. And stop right there, because we all joke about the reeking deacon and how many people that were asked to be deacons that might smoke cigarettes in the 70s who would have never thought a thing about it. But my dad was convicted and said, I don't feel qualified. I can't do it with honor because I smoke. And I remember him battling that openly in our family. I was an only kid. And the pastor looked at him and said, well, then quit, because I need you. And my dad quit. And he was a deacon for over 40 years. So that's, sometimes character is what you do when people are looking. And he exhibited it every day. So he'll be missed.
Yeah, I appreciate your dad, because your mom may write the checks, but your dad handed her the checkbook.
Absolutely. He will be missed. And thanks to all of you who have reached out. Good morning, Sheriff Louderback, Michelle Wilson Hawkins, Ricky King, Patrick Strauss, thank you for your kind words yesterday. Dad literally would say, get back to work. Life goes on. Let's roll. So, sporting the shirt today of Allen's Wrecker Service, 578-6300. Allen is your go-to toe-to. Allen did not come out and get Dad yesterday, for those of you with a sick sense of humor. He would have, though. Allen Miller knew my dad well for a long time. So, hats off to Allen's Wrecker Service, 578-6300.
Hang on, caller.
Hang on 1 second, caller. We'll get to you. We'll be glad to do it. VCS Company, our banner sponsor. Thank you, Sheriff. Our banner sponsor here. All things communication revolve around the VCS companies, whether it be in schools, municipal buildings, your home security, your FirstNet. If you're a first responder, there's a telephone network set up just for you. And you need to reach out to them. They're advertising it right now at the only locally owned and authorized AT&T retailer right there at the corner of Kerr Boulevard and
Main Street.
And Nowhere Street. Just go right there. Take it right off Main. And then, of course, Cheswick Furniture, 101 years in downtown Victoria, 70 at their current location, half off on all furniture.
116 West One Lynn if you need the physical address.
They have bedding and accoutrement. Get down there and see them. And today is your last day of the week to get to Veracruz. How many weeks have you let go by where you've heard me say on a Friday, today is your last day? I went yesterday. I got special number 7. Now, that is a chalupa, a shredded chicken taco, and a little cup of vegetable soup. It's light.
Yeah, I've had that one. It's a really good
wonderful. Many flavors, and it's really good. So we say that, and then did BJ say something?
Yeah, she says, Allen's has shirts. How many toes do you have to hire them for to get one?
Right?
She says white trash probably qualifies for a free shirt.
I'll tell you something that'll make you chuckle. You've seen us. I posted pictures of Allen's Wrecker Service with the flatbed with the postal truck up on it. Well, guess what, Ash? The Postal Service has a brand new F-550 tow truck.
They got their
own. They bought their own. That's how much money they were sending to Allen. Good morning, caller. We apologize for making you wait. We had to pay the bills. How are you?
Hi, Pete.
Hi, Pete. Well, I appreciate it.
He's a hockey player at heart, Pete. He just jumps right back on the ice and takes the next shift.
I actually do have the calm assurance of a better day for Dad. So it's a comfort to know, that he's in a better place. We joked about, so my daughter, Pete, you'll like this, and Daddy was a Baptist deacon. Dad was the guy that it was almost stoic in church, stood and of course the Baptists sing, and it's not quite as dirge-like as some of the other faiths, but it's also not rock and roll church. It's pretty, praise God from whom all blessings flow. So Dad would stand there, and every now and then as the church crowd kind of diversified a little bit and people got a little bit more progressive, you'd have these people that were kind of like, they kind of get it going with their hands a little bit above their head and that kind of stuff. And my dad would go, look at her. She's got her antennas up. And Dad always felt like, and sometimes I agree that, you should not draw attention to yourself in church. And so Katie had sent me a note and said, she goes, I can just see Granddad there with just both his hands, just waving his hands and praising Jesus. And I said, Katie, your dad was a deacon for 45 years and old habits die hard. I have a feeling his hands are not above his waist, although he's very proud to have 2 arms again. So yeah, I doubt if my dad's, going full blown Pentecostal. He's over in the reserved section of heaven on the low key side. So how are things in your part of the world up there?
Besides early. Yeah, you guys are having a heck of a wildfire season, aren't you? Oh, jeez. I don't get that. Yeah, no, I don't get it either. And, I always wonder, they rarely ever catch these folks just because of, the remoteness of where these fires get set. But I often wonder how many of these are some of these eco extremists just trying to bring their point home that
Yeah.
humans are the scourge of the earth, right?
And global warming and climate change and all that. That's what caused this. And Donald Trump.
Yeah. Yeah. No, yeah, no. How about the island itself? Are you guys spared somewhat? No, that's good.
So we fly up there and then take a boat over to you. There's not an airport on your island, is there? Okay, so it's a big island. We're coming. Pete, we're coming. Okay.
Okay,
All
so
right,
add another 4 hours and you're through Texas.
Right, you're in Oklahoma. I'm going to bring T-Lat. Dawn's idea of travel is a T-shirt and 2 bikinis, and we go to Cabo for a week. So I'm going to get her to load up something with a little more material, and we're going to come to the Pacific Northwest.
No, you could probably take a T-shirt and a couple bikinis.
I imagine.
Well, Dawn could. You couldn't.
Pete would welcome Dawn in a T-shirt and a bikini.
But you've got to go for the 4 days in August when it's warm. That's it.
Yeah.
Exactly.
No,
Because it's a long weekend. This is traditionally the nicest weekend in Canada.
you would like Dawn. Fantastic. Awesome. Congratulations. Go with your heart. Will you come see us?
I can imagine. Well, that's kind of where you cut your first chops in the radio business, isn't it? Or a significant portion of it.
Wow.
Wow. Yeah. Chris Conrad says, tell him Brent to go up to Campbell River and go salmon fishing, and Dawn can go to the spa.
Awesome. I thought it said Dawn could go to the sea. That's what I thought it said. Well, Pete, we'd love you to come down. We need a consultant. Ash and I, mostly I, are working diligently to get curling as a UH Victoria sport. And I'm battling with the athletic director there daily to try to get the funding so that we can create a rink and get a few stones and have a co-ed, all-inclusive, everybody's a winner. You know, I want to have a curling team here at UHV. I've tried to explain to him that if we're the only curling team in the state, chances are we can be state champs. I want him to. Think about that. Immediate exposure. If they put cornhole on TV and pickleball on TV, why not collegiate, intramural, or what do you call it? Co-ed curling. All it takes is the right uniforms, and we're on ESPN.
Yeah, you can't quite go beach volleyball with those uniforms.
Yeah.
But so what's your new because you were at the Ontario Hockey Association, our academy before. So now when do you start and what's your new role? Is it a new role or are you going back to an old role? Oh, wow. Awesome. So when do you start? I mean, are you packing up the U-Haul and hitting the ferry and going? Wow.
The head Shaka Khan.
That's awesome,
Women's
Pete.
hockey.
Congrats to you, buddy.
Very-
That's awesome. Thank you. Are you referring to the Allen's
No,
Record
no, he
Service
likes
t-shirt?
Flames hockey. He likes Flames hockey.
Well, I'm not convinced.
We do
Yeah.
need you to come to Texas. Have you ever been down here?
I'm guessing when you were more involved in the rodeo world.
If there's such a thing as a Texas Yankee, they live in Dallas. But real Texans are down here with us, and we'd like to have you come down and we'll get you a
Where-
bowl of
Oh, okay.
pretty much like O'Hare or any other airport there in Dallas.
Real quick, Pete, for the hockey half minute on the Wade and Carter show, what do you think of the Flames' moves thus far? Because I'm not sold that they've made the team. They made the team a little tougher. I'm not sold the team's any better. Yeah. Yeah. Good. We're on the same page then.
The Flames are
Wait and
confusing
see. I'm
because-
not sold, but but I'm not going to be surprised if they work out, and I'm not going to be, and I'll be less surprised if they don't work out because most of those free agent signings with the Flames over the past years have not managed to do much of anything. So,
Well, Pete, I'm a total.
yeah. Yeah. And really not changing his role in Seattle. Still a guy that's going to get most of the playing time and when he was in Colorado. So, yeah.
I'm a total hockey novice, but I remember maybe 3 or 4 seasons ago when the Flames didn't do what they needed to do, and Ash was like, the goalie sucks. We need a new goalie. And then apparently that problem has been solved, and yet their progress has been minimal. And I think Ash has been frustrated. That always makes me think if I don't have the pieces, that's a personnel issue. If I've got the pieces, that could be a coaching issue. And I don't know anything about hockey or the Flames coach, but it just seems odd to me that Ash is, even as a rabid fan, is brutally objective. And he's just like, the talent's there. Why aren't they winning? That makes me wonder what the Flames have going, in the booth.
Yeah.
Well, that's like the Cowboys. Now, see, we're Dallas Cowboys.
I was
fans
just
down
going to
here.
say the Flames remind me a lot of the Cowboys. They don't have problems filling the stadium or the arena.
Nor do the Cowboys.
They've got a rabid fan base.
No, the Cowboys.
They're
are
almost
great.
like the Toronto Maple Leafs of the West of the western part of Canada, the way they've become, because I think they become so apathetic because the money is going to be there and the seats are going to be filled and they don't have to worry about anything. And the fans are just sort of accepting a somewhat mediocre to subpar product on the ice.
There you go. When you get settled, thank you, sir.
Thanks, Pete. We appreciate everything. And
when you get settled, will you call us again? And just give us the update. Perfect.
Even better, we're going to be huge in Ontario.
Awesome. Hey, we appreciate you. There you go.
Awesome. We appreciate it.
Hey, be well,
Thanks,
sir.
Pete. Safe travels and
safe.
Good luck recruiting.
Hey, thanks for the call, Pete.
Thanks, Pete.
Bye, buddy.
Bye-bye. Pete Montana joining us.
Before we take the break, that does kind of bring up, and I'm just curious with Cowboys fans, we all went through that period. Initially, we're like, the audacity. He fired Tom Landry. And then we all hated Jerry Jones. And then
we won a couple Super Bowls.
And then we kind of like tolerated
yeah.
Jerry Jones. And then he fired Jimmy Johnson, or they parted ways. And we didn't like Jerry again because Jimmy was the man. And we all knew that Jimmy was the man. And then it's kind of like,
well, but Barry Switzer was able to take,
ride the coattails.
Yeah, but still.
But then he settles in and, he's just kind of an icon of the NFL. He's in the Hall of Fame, yada, yada, yada. But is it time for Jerry Jones to move on? Even if all he does is completely remove himself from any media, he's a narcissist, which, by the way, is what most really successful people are. And is it possible to give it to Steven? And because they're not going to ever sell the team.
No.
They bought it for $140 million and it's worth like $7 billion. You don't sell the golden goose. But it seems to me that they're more interested, honestly, in developing facilities and golf courses and new product lines and marketing and licensing and revenue generation than they are in winning.
They're more managing the brand than they are the team.
I agree with that. And is it possible? Is it even realistic to expect a hands-on owner who truly believes that he built what is there? Is it possible for that guy to turn over, I'm just using as an example, the team to a guy like Nick Saban and go, you run it. We're just going to sit back and cash the checks.
Well, Miami tried that. Didn't work so well for Saban.
Correct.
Or Miami.
And the only thing that could do more for the Cowboys than everything they do already would be winning. Can you imagine if they went through a New England Patriots type era on top of the most recognized? I mean, it is, folks.
Yeah.
If we're, New York Yankees, Dallas Cowboys, Texas Longhorns, you get through those recognizable brands that all three of them of late have nothing to do with winning. They have nothing to do with a quality product. The Longhorns have sucked. The Cowboys are a 500 ball club, and the Yankees have been down.
Yeah.
So you look at it and go, but they're still the Yankees. It's still Michigan. It's still USC. So what do you do if you're Jerry Jones at night and you're faced with some personal humility? Do you say, maybe my time has passed? Or do you tell yourself, I'm just one good draft away?
I don't know if there's many people out there that are going to spend $7 to $10 billion to buy the team.
Bezos now lives in Texas.
Yeah,
you can call them the Rockets.
Yeah.
The Dallas Prophylactics.
Yeah, interesting thoughts on that guy too. But
I think he's
well, besides that, but could somebody come in? I mean, love him or hate him, he turned the team around that was going south with Jimmy Johnson. They won Super Bowls. They helped get the brand back to where it was, and now he's managed that brand into a large enterprise that has multiple channels
Oh yeah,
of revenue.
golf courses.
I just
convention
wonder
centers.
if somebody could do that, or if a new owner would be able to do that, or would they lose the value of the brand that Jerry Jones has built?
They could.
And that, it's an interesting.
Of course, the
Because it's
brand
more
was
than-
there. I mean, they were America's team before he
Well,
got there.
Yeah, but when I say he's grown and managed the brand, it's become, Cowboys Town or what, all these other things that, I mean, that thing in Plano ain't happening if Jerry Jones doesn't have some vision and investment
No,
to
that's
turn
right.
that whole area into a Cowboys themed mecca.
No, that's right.
Right?
And,
I mean,
and football is a religion here. We know that.
Chris Conrad says Bezos is rumored to be buying the Washington professional NFL football team. That's
There you
interesting.
go. From Dan Schneider still owns it, I think.
Speaking of Bezos, and I know we got to probably get to a
We'll
break.
get to a break.
But
It's Freeform Friday.
Yeah, I found it interesting that all those who want capitalists to give their money away to better society had no problem with Bezos putting all his money into his own personal play toy rocket ship
And charging
not-
people $250
and
a throw.
not using that money for the betterment of humanity. The hypocrisy, again, of the left is absolutely – people on the right can't make a bunch of money
Oh, no.
without being expected and coerced into trying to give it up.
Right.
The government has to be the one to take all of our money to use to better people. But for Bezos, he gets a free pass and can, he's made that money. He can do with it what he wants, only because he's identified as a Democrat. If he was identified as a Republican, you wouldn't be giving him the free pass to go and
Legit
blow
point.
his rocket
Well,
off into space.
Why doesn't Bill Gates just give away Microsoft software now? Why is it still licensed? Why will they prosecute you if you give a copy to somebody? I mean, he's still making money
Because
hand
he's a
over
Democrat.
because he's a Democrat. He can do what he wants. There you have it. That's a legit point. It's a great time to tell you about the Atzenhofer dealership. Since 1926, they have evolved and morphed with the times, added brands. I don't know if they ever got rid of a brand or not. I don't know if at one time they were the Buick dealer as well. I can't be positive.
I don't know.
But they now have
They've added a lot.
Chevy,
Yeah.
Cadillac, Mazda, Mitsubishi.
There's a great local example of somebody who has grown the Atzenhofer brand into something that's recognizable across the state of
And
Texas.
they've done it by giving back. I mention this every year at the appropriate time, but now's a great time to mention as well, mostly because it's my show, and when you go to the Goliad Rodeo, if it stays still more than 5 minutes, I mean, I've seen horses with the word Atzenhofer on their rump. The Atzenhofer dealership has given so much money and so much time and so much credibility to so many events. And you go down to Boot Fest, there's an Atzenhofer banner flying down there. These things are not free, and they are behind everything Victoria and this region. That's what really struck me so much, is that they give back that much to the Goliad Rodeo. Atzenhofer, since 1926, they are Victoria's car dealer. White Trash Services, same thing. Wanting you to have a trash-tastic day, BJ Nelson tirelessly, selflessly donates her time, her talents, her ability. Scott as well. No discount there of the Nelson family. But whether it's being for the youth, through the livestock show, through Keep Victoria Beautiful, through involvement in civic and political events, the folks at White Trash Services care about this community. If you're in the 7-county area, if you can hear us on this radio, reach out to White Trash Services for a roll-off dumpster for a big project you're doing. You want to keep Victoria beautiful and set up a dumpster and have people come in and fill it, canvass the neighborhood, walk through the neighborhood and pick up all the trash. Reach out, 550-1826.
Razor IT Solutions, John Paul Hull can handle all your data analytics, encryption, anything on the back end of a website or computer network. John Paul Hull has the answers to your questions and solutions to your problems and challenges. So
Give him a
he's
call.
good. Yeah. And he does this for everybody from
Fortune
small mom
100
and pop
companies.
to major corporations across the country. And he's based right here in Victoria, Texas.
Yeah, they've done work for President Bush the first. They've done work for you name it. They've done it. The law offices of Steve Kidder.
You name it, Steve's done it.
He has. I mean, he's done pro bono work. He's helped people that didn't have any money get out of jail. He's helped people solve civil disputes. Steve's goal is to keep you out of the courtroom, but well represented. You don't want to be in court if you don't have to be in court. And you definitely need somebody to help you navigate those waters so you don't get bullied around by paperwork. And Steve is a guy who can say, this is senseless. Let's just all get in a room and talk about it. He is very, very good. Call the law offices of Steve Kidder. Today's a great day for you to come right over here on Red River on your way to work. Don't get donuts. Can you believe that? And hats off to him. Welcome back to Victoria Shipley Donuts. But can you believe that it's a donut shop, people, and cars are lined around it and down the road like they're giving away golden eggs?
Yes.
I'm like, are you kidding me? It's a
Nope,
donut shop.
Nothing surprised me in Victoria when a fast food restaurant opens.
It's sad
Or
that
something of convenience food.
the obesity and the self-inflicted sickness that this city incorporates. Go to Complete 360. Go to the health bar right over here and get a gluten-free, high-protein waffle that's better than a donut.
Stop by for lunch. Get the adobo turkey wrap.
It's
I highly recommend it. It's
spicy
awesome.
and
Flavorful.
tangy. It's great.
Yeah, it's really good.
Go by there. Trust us. Right here next to Woodlawn Bowl. Or you can put it on the north side. You can get a smoothie. You can get all kinds of snacks that are healthy. They have pre-made meals you can just throw in the microwave that are beautiful. It's not fast food.
Nope.
And they have
Meal prep.
all types of supplements up there.
Yep.
So there you have it.
Kathleen Leininger leads me into where I was going to come out.
Well done,
after the break.
Kathleen.
Thank you, Kathleen.
Well done.
She says Bezos needs to keep his sorry politics on the left coast, nowhere near Texas. Just to give you an example, and I was perusing Twitter last night. I do it every once in a while because it's almost entertainment to see how unhinged many in the Twitter sphere are. But somebody pointed this out, and then I read the comments. Grab my popcorn and sit back and enjoy it like it's a show, because posts like this really make folks unhinged. And I don't remember who posted it, but they were pointing out the hypocrisy of the Washington Post. Jeff Bezos owns it. Twitter allows them to do stuff like this without any checks and balances, right? And they were pointing out the hypocrisy of the Washington Post with the Joe Biden administration and the Donald Trump administration. And here was the headline: Biden proposes stronger Buy American rules for federal government aiming to bolster U.S. industry. So when Joe Biden says Buy American, America first, it's all good.
But if Trump says it, he's a bully.
Well, and here's the headline when Donald Trump said that. Our history shows there's a dark side to Buy American. Campaigns urging us to buy U.S.-made products are as old as the Republic, but they are often shrouded in racism.
This is exactly what I was saying too. And hats off to the Bill Posey show. He had Woodrow Wilson Wagner on, and Mr. Wagner is the new he took over for Pat Talley as the head of the Democratic Party of Victoria County. That is what I was talking about, that perception and spin has eliminated any possibility of bipartisan cooperation. The sarcasm, if you will, of Joe Biden talking about uniting the country is prohibited by the very media that reports on the unification effort. It's never going to happen. The media won't allow it to happen.
No, because they've become the propaganda arm of the Democratic Party and Joe Biden's presidency.
Right. Buy American is racist and has a dark side when Donald Trump says it. When Joe Biden says it, it's all a positive, and it's all same thing. I mean, they're saying the same thing. That's a shame.
How can you hate America on page one?
Hi, Funky Trey.
Top of the fold. I point out how bad America is. Bottom of the fold, you praise Joe Biden for for buying American. It's just.
Now there's something I may have to try. Patrick Strauss says he had the ham and pear panini.
Oh, I bet you that was good.
Can you see that the ham's like a little salty and the pear's kind of sweet?
And I'm curious as to what cheese would be in there.
Put the lime in the coconut and call me in the morning.
Because that cheese would just hold
Doctor, is there nothing I can take? Lisa Poole said Shipley donuts are the bomb.
It's been a long time since I've had one, but always been partial to
Lisa's calling us from her
Tim Hortons.
gastric bypass bed.
brie cheese. There
Not
you go,
really,
Jennifer
Lisa.
Rayburn.
Not
Thank you.
really. Lisa's a little video thing, but she's mean. She's like those firecrackers that are short, but they're kind of the ones that'll blow your hand off.
An
Yeah.
80s or whatever.
Yeah,
they're
that's
called.
Lisa. Lisa's like that.
Joe Biden yesterday, or I guess it was yesterday, maybe the day before, touring a Mack plant. I got the story here.
A Mack, Mack
plant.
truck.
Yeah, Mack truck plant.
Mack is cool with that bulldog out on the front.
Yeah, he was in a Mack truck facility in Pennsylvania Wednesday. I used to drive an 18-wheeler, man. The president told staff.
He's such a liar. I mean, that dude's a liar. When did he drive it? He's been
No,
in
he
Congress since he was 17.
Clarifying he got to drive one. And okay, I'll give him the benefit of the doubt. As a career politician, maybe they set up a media day.
He was from Scranton.
And gave elected officials an opportunity, because I had,
Thanks, Jeff.
I had a similar opportunity one time to try out some things that the fire department does or can do on a daily basis. I got to put out a fire. I got to rappel down the side of the building.
I was a fireman, man.
That's exactly it. That'd be like me saying I was a fireman.
Yeah.
No.
For 8 minutes.
For 8 minutes,
Without
I was a fireman.
Jeff Fonseca said,
crapping my pants the whole time up at the top of the building, coming down on the rappel. But yeah, I was a fireman. Now, if they put Joe Biden behind the wheel of an 18-wheeler for a photo op, that's one thing. But to sit there as the president and just lie to people and insinuate that you can walk in their shoes because you drove an 18-wheeler.
You need to go back and read the comments. It's classic stuff from our listeners. Jeff Fonseca said that Lisa Poole's more of a lady finger. Yeah. Did you hear the Johnny Carson sarcastic, Johnny Carson with his monologue and what he said about Joe Biden? This was 1987.
Bobcat Wally says he'd like to hear Joe Biden on the Trucker CB radio. Come on, Rubber Ducky.
Come on back and talk to Teddy Bear.
Kristen Wallace says it was a toy 18-wheeler. He pushed it on the ground.
Unbelievable. You folks are terrible on a Friday. So let me tell you one that
James Kerr says I threw a baseball once. Doesn't make me a pitcher for the Astros.
Legit point. By the way, this kid, and remember I told you this because Ash and I are right about baseball. This kid, Kendall Graveline, what's his name? Help me. That kid.
Yeah, that
the
guy.
kid we just got from
Seattle.
30 years old. He's
Kid.
been with Toronto and Seattle and the A's, and he's also a Mississippi State player. So he played some college ball. His sincerity is amazing, and I hope that Astros fans get behind this kid, whether he's great or not to start. He is a gamer. And Seattle players literally said they felt betrayed, that he was the most popular person in the Seattle clubhouse. And I want the Astros fans to really, really like this kid.
Yeah. You know what bothers me that from a Seattle perspective is if they felt that they were betrayed because he got traded to Houston, I hope there's no animosity to Joe Smith and Abraham Toro when they walk into that clubhouse. I don't think there will be.
I don't think there will be.
Fans might not be as forgiving.
Right. It's always good to have. Well, you're right. If you're Abraham Toro, you need to go up and get a hit that first at bat. It's tough. He'll be pressing. So a quick deal on Johnny Carson. Got a red hat on. Johnny Carson.
The Twitter sphere is just all over the place with Joe Biden memes of him in a truck.
Stop and make you folks think for a second. 1987. Joe Biden was running for president. And he got called out. They talked about him taking, and you'll remember this if you're anywhere close to our age. Judge Posey will remember this specifically. He got called out, Ash, because he took excerpts from like a French leader's speech, English leader's speech, and just regurgitated it basically word for word, took out some of the big words and put in some smaller words, and was called out for plagiarism.
It derailed his presidential campaign. That's how far we've come. Back then, you stealing another man's speech disqualified you from running for president in '88.
And here's what's scary. All he had to say was, It is apropos. The great British leader Winston Churchill said, blah, blah, blah. But he didn't do that. He tried to make it his own.
Well, he tried to find some obscure British politician whose speech.
So
and
then
steal it.
Carson goes on and points out another time that Biden had been accused of, and correctly, of plagiarism. And he said, when asked for a comment, Biden said, "We have nothing to fear but fear itself." Carson was so dead. He goes, "Yeah, nothing to fear." Man, I miss the delivery of
Corky.
Johnny Carson. What did
Thank
Corky
you.
say?
87, the year I graduated high school. Yeah, so did you,
Yeah, twin.
lesser one.
You were late. Unbelievable.
Even at graduation, they read your name after mine.
It's like you came out with his foot in your mouth. That's what's interesting. That's
Morning,
how,
Corky. How are you?
hello, sir. Is he getting ready to go back to school?
Oh yeah, not as early as we do down here. Jeff Fonseca says plagiarism got him through college.
Well, that's funny because I don't understand why literally, apparently a pathological liar can get elected over and over again. He's standing in front of a group where he talks about, I was on a full scholarship my last year in law school. I graduated in the top half of my class and I blah, blah, blah. Well, it turns out he was on a partial scholarship and graduated, honestly, 76th out of like 89.
Bottom quarter.
There was nobody had asked him, where did you graduate in law school? He just lied for no reason.
No reason.
It's one thing if I say to you, were you in the top half of your class? And you go, yes, when you weren't. But if I say, well, how was college for you? Well, I was on a full academic scholarship and I graduated in the top half of my class. And it was just a lie.
Yeah.
Like, why do that, Joe? I really don't get that. Because back then, I guess he thought nobody would fact check him or that nobody was recording what he was saying.
Yeah.
Now we record everything he says, and he's a complete embarrassment to our country.
So I'm wondering if Joe Biden, driving an 18-wheeler, hired Corn Pop to be a swamper. Just curious. Make amends for kicking his butt at the pool that day and embarrassing him in front of his peers.
Rubbing the hair on his legs.
Just curious.
Tell you what, real quick, because there's really no segue from hairy legs into Terry Murray.
Swampy.
Reach out to Motto Mortgage, 541-5454.
She will get you from underneath. That's if you're swamped by your mortgage, she'll help you get out from under it.
Well, the reality is, and we say it all the time, you take your principal times your interest, and that affects your payment. If I can lower the interest rate, I lower the payment. It's not funny money. It's not crazy town. Not to mention the fact that if you've got 20 years left on a mortgage at 5%, she can either lower your rate and you can pay it off in 15 at the same payment, or she can stretch it out 30 again and lower your payment way down and let you put in a pool, or you can take cash equity out and redo your kitchen. The thing to do with Terry Murray is just talk to her about your options. She may look at it and go, wow, I mean, you bought this house for $200,000 and you only owe $125,000 on it. I can cut your payment by a third, and you can pull 50 grand out and remodel that kitchen and that bathroom. It is that financial climate right now. You owe it to your family and your pocketbook to dial 541-5454. And with rates this low, she can literally roll those expenses into your mortgage. So instead of owing $200, you owe $208. But the payment goes from $2,000 a month to $1,100. Trust
She'll help
me.
you walk through all that and give you all the scenarios of how you can save money, just how much equity you can or should pull out. She'll help you walk through that. And
The math is your friend. Let her help you with the math. Wind Services. Take some of that money and buy a generator. Put some solar panels on the roof. Upgrade your wiring, upgrade your plumbing. She can help you with all, he can help you with all that. Carl Wendt, Aaron Wendt, their team out there does a great job. They're great friends of mine. I highly recommend Wendt Services. Jokingly, 4 years ago, recommended them to Ash, and they've done several things out of the 2-4 since then. USA Concrete, coatings, the singing cowboy, Charlie Garcia, will come in, completely renovate, transform
Nice.
your floor in your garage.
Like taking a month to
Yeah,
practice
but
that.
a
without
year
tripping over
actually.
it.
He'll come in and seal the cracks. Everybody has cracks in their garage floor. That's not anything to be ashamed of. He'll seal those, flatten it all out, and come in with a polyurethane coat that won't stick to your tires. It won't peel. It won't fade.
Won't crack.
Won't rust. It won't have any stains
4
on it.
times stronger than anything else on the market.
Right. It's stronger than concrete. Reach out to Charlie Garcia. And last but certainly not least,
Not in my world.
party planner extraordinaire. You give her a theme, Cheryl will make your dreams come true. The Gray Barn, 920-6803.
She'll make them more than come true. She'll make them better than you even imagined they would be.
Not only that, she'll show up at your party and she's pretty. 920-6803. Like if Steve Kidder threw a party, he's like, yeah, show up some pretty girls come. All you got to do is hire Cheryl, 920-6803. She'll be there.
Checks out of the box.
There you go. You
920-6803.
get her for the way she makes your party look, and you get her looks for free.
And I don't have to come if you don't want me there.
920-6803. Yeah, if there are any flowers involved, please
Yeah, no, I won't carry them.
don't call Ash.
Kevin Weininger says, Joe may not have been lying. Maybe I'm paraphrasing. I'm putting words in Kathleen's mouth, but maybe he was just emphasizing he was top of the bottom 10%.
Well, true point. True point. And by the way, that's what some of our Democrat friends would say. You misunderstood. Ha 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 ha. Crazy conservative. Yeah, exactly. What did James Kurtz say down there?
He says the weekend's about to begin. For some folks y'all enjoy, he's off to make the donuts. I had no idea Shipley's hired him.
Right, James, we love you, sir. Thanks for your continued support and your friendship. Thank you, sir.
Enjoy the donut making.
I have not seen the Hall of Famer. Is he here?
I've not seen him yet. No.
I think we just go until we just don't
we
want to
still
go.
got time.
Yeah, we
But
don't want to go.
I wanted to bring this to light because yesterday some of the numbers came out and apparently our economy grew at a 6.5% seasonally adjusted annualized rate in the second quarter, right? And Joe Biden was out there, President Biden was out there going, well, this economy is the best ever, blah, 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 blah. And I don't do a good Joe Biden, but I kind of lump him in every other politician who touts these things. I would like to see these numbers actually compared to or adjusted to where they would be if we hadn't shut down this entire country
Right.
for damn near a year in some places, certainly 6 to 9 months in most other places.
Right.
That's how I want to see these numbers compared. Not to give me a 6.5% growth rate seasonally adjusted because we're coming out of lockdowns and shutdowns, because of course at that point it has nowhere to go but up, and the curve is going to look like this at that point.
And I believe
Right?
we're heading towards another shutdown. I'm going to tell you folks that now. I do believe that.
So where does this number compare to where we were prior to spring of 2020? That's what I
Scott
want.
Tomko asked the exact same question. I think we're heading towards a period. We are seeing an increase in this Delta variant of the COVID disease, and I think at some point
Well, but
you're going to see the government shut us down.
But you know what's not following, at least according to the data that I look at? The hospitalizations aren't there and the deaths aren't there. And we've seen this, and I'm just pointing out obvious. If you look at the charts of COVID, it's done this, done this, done this, done this, done this, done this. There's nothing that we're doing that is stopping the ups or helping the downs. It's just what happens with a virus.
What was the deal the other
Point
day?
blank. That's the way these things go.
They made some governmental decisions based on a study that peer review decide failed. Was that about the mask?
That was the one about the mask mandate. There was a study out of India that only had about 100 people in it from what I read it. I didn't think 100 people was statistically relevant for a study of any sort for this to follow the science.
Right.
Because remember, there were studies involving several thousand people when Donald Trump was trying to do some things that were peer-reviewed or hadn't been peer-reviewed, and they were thrown out the window. This one apparently had been peer-reviewed, and they said, nah, not good enough. We're going to reject it. Well, geez, Joe Biden the other day comes out and says, well, based on this study, we're gonna implement, or we're gonna recommend, the CDC is gonna recommend masks again. All of a sudden, the study now is under review or for revision.
We have to talk to the brother man for a second. I got to tell you something I'm not sure you knew.
All right.
I'm a little bit distraught.
That's all I'm going to say about it.
I agree.
We'll pick it up on the weekend.
It was a decent rant. That was a decent semi-rant. Did you know?
There he is.
And now that Brother Ralph is here as well. Ralph, you're late. Morning, Ralph. Morning, Bill. Remember that? Sam. Remember that? You remember that from the
Ralph,
cartoon? The dog that's on. He's on guard to watch the sheep from and they pass each other and they plot.
That was Looney Tunes.
You're here to clear up the actual facts. I throw out the big picture. So, Ash, I'm going to tell you this.
Patrick Strauss says Family Feud does studies. They ask 100 people.
Right? Our surveys. Sit. I want you to
scientific and peer reviewed.
Look at that man right there.
Yep.
And know that yesterday was his birthday. And it was on a day when he is charged with bringing content to the show. And he selflessly did not even mention that yesterday was his 97th birthday.
That's why I didn't want to say it.
He didn't say anything.
That's why I didn't want to say it.
He gets around good for an old fella. I could not believe he's not ananywhere near that old, folks.
No,
I made that up.
We joke. You lie.
You Biden. Joe Biden. I used to be a truck driver. He kind of said, "What if Joe Biden talked like Jimmy Stewart?" Oh, I was a truck driver. I love Jimmy
You'd be
Stewart.
a little bit more tolerable.
What?
Well, thank you for that. But I was coming in with content just to be with you boys. And
There you go.
Let me go ahead and throw out my
Listen.
brother guys and my deepest sympathy.
Listen.
That's at the ballpark.
Brother Gary,
Happy birthday
to you. Yes.
There's only one a year.
Well, hey, and thank you, sir.
I know everybody's saying along at home.
Of course, we spoke yesterday, and
Thank you for calling.
yes, sir.
I called you back when I got free from one event to the next.
well, you and Dad were close, and
I love your father. My
Yeah.
deepest sympathy to you.
I appreciate
your
you, sir.
mother And your family. Dad was a good guy. I sold him tickets. I watched him come into the ball.
Forever.
And appreciate your family, sir, and your father.
Jennifer Rayburn says, for a show that doesn't acknowledge birthdays, happy birthday, Mr. Moses.
Thank you very much. Jennifer was my student.
Of course she
Of
was.
course she was.
Of course she was.
And I didn't bring it up because we don't acknowledge birthdays, and I could get.
But if there's one we would acknowledge,
So,
I
hey,
just did.
by the way, with this has no relation to Brother Gary at all, but it is funny, and it gives you some insight into where my unmedicated brain goes. So when you said she was one of your students, and I was going to say, yeah, he taught her driver's ed, because like Brother Gary working in the summer. And then when I said driver's ed, I thought about my friend Vic Morgan. And Dr. Morgan told the joke, because Dr. Morgan, he's a gentleman though, you know what I mean? He's a scholar, he's an academician. He sits around the house in a coat and tie and drinks tea out of a china cup, and he got up and they were talking to him about growing up in Bangs, Texas. And Vic Morgan just deadpans. I mean, it's like he's talking to a group of students, and he just says, yes, I grew up in Bangs, Texas, and my town was so small.
how small was it?
My town was so small that they taught driver's ed and sex education in the same car.
I remember that.
And I was like,
You remember that?
I was there, and I was like, I'm voting for that dude. I am voting for Vic Morgan for mayor. And I really, when we first started the program, I think that Dr. Morgan was very tolerant, very helpful. Ash, being involved with the university and all. And at the same time, Dr. Morgan was concerned because he said, you guys are somewhat polarizing, and what are you doing? And Dr. Morgan might lean a little more left personally than I do. And I have to give him credit that he said, hey, free speech is free speech, and your time is your time. And at first I was kind of predisposed not to be a big fan, because I thought, man, this guy's kind of like, why are y'all doing that? But I've gotten to where the campaign, I really, he endeared himself to me. And I found him to be a a very, very delightful gentleman, and someone I would go to. Certainly now that my father's gone, I would go to Vic for advice. He's a good man.
He's that kind of guy.
Yes, sir.
And I took to him early, he took to me early, and good guy. And I know he liked it. Hey, didn't say anything. So
Yeah.
it must have been okay. Boy.
Absolutely. Well, and then
Yeah.
I look at
I like
Bob
Vic.
Glenn as another great continuation of
I
that.
would go to him too.
Yeah, I would too. I would
That's
call
some good
Dr.
leadership
Glenn.
over there. School's moving in the right.
Yes, you have.
Yes.
That's good. And Brett, again, love your father.
Thank you, sir.
Love all there in your family.
And Mama's doing fine. Iceman, thank you for the comments. And so many of you reached out yesterday, and I appreciate you.
Yes.
And my dad would say, hey, that's the circle of life, and we'll move forward from here. And we love you guys. And Brother Man, happy birthday, my friend. Hope you guys have a great weekend. Ash, you got any final? Ash, give him a final word.